Hello and welcome to Exploited Crimes and Technology. My name is Opal Singleton and we come to you every Saturday afternoon at 3 o'clock right here on AM 590, The Answer. Been a busy week in the world of human trafficking this week. Actually, it's been a busy month so far, and even part of the last of the month of January. This show is brought to you by Million Kids, MILLION, millionkids.org, not .com. That's a rock band. You don't need them. You need .org, millionkids.org. We are an organization here in Southern California. We've been here 13 years going on, and what a journey it has been. We combat human trafficking, sextortion, labor trafficking, social media exploitation, child pornography, and even a little money laundering and gang trafficking and some of that stuff, and even some labor trafficking. Been doing that for a long time. We've been researching it, and we are what they call post-certified to train law enforcement. We've trained over 500,000 people now since we started. We got a couple of books. I'm working on my third one, which will be an online book. And as most of you know, we have a movie that is just about to release. We are getting there. It has been a labor of love, sometimes more challenging than others, but the results of it are beyond our expectations. So this week, I want to share with you and maybe break down for you the world of human trafficking in Southern California. I don't know if you follow us, but if you don't, I highly recommend that you go to millionkids.org and sign up for especially insider alerts, but also our newsletter. We don't sell your name, and I'm pretty humble at asking for money. I do every now and then. It's the only way we survive, but we don't beat you to death, so you can relax on that. But for the last few weeks, about the last 2 to 3 weeks, you've seen headline after headline with some just extraordinary numbers about the number of arrests being made in Southern California related to human trafficking. And of course, a lot of it goes back to the fact that we had the Super Bowl over in Inglewood. And historically, there is always a lot of conversation takes place about whether or not Super Bowl generates trafficking, or if pimps and panders and traffickers are mesmerized by the thousands of dollars going into Super Bowl and the opportunity to sell people and make extra money, that maybe it is like, mosquitoes on a light, they all flock to town. Is it real? Is it not? We've had a lot of conversation, but now we have numbers. And so what I want to talk about during the next few minutes of this show, the next 45 minutes of this show, is the results of operations that were ran in LA County, Orange County, San Bernardino, and Riverside counties, and let you see the reality, the truth of the matter. My organization is trained to be a law enforcement and first responder training, but we're also the training and outreach coordinator for the Riverside County Anti-Human Trafficking Task Force. That task force reports to Sheriff Chad Bianco, and we work with DA Mike Hestron over there. So the reason I take the time to point that out is to let you know we deal with the real deal. There are a lot of people now combating trafficking, and that's a good thing as long as they're working with facts. I am absolutely against people who go out with inflammatory words and big numbers and parading up and down the street trying to convince you that this is happening to millions of people. Well, millions of people around the world, but what I think you're most interested in is what is happening in your neighborhood. And that's what we're going to talk about for the rest of the hour. So I'm going to start with a news release that came out under WhiteHouseWire.com, but you can also see the same headline picked up by many others. Headline, this is statewide, but they're trying to get your attention, and I guess they do that. Authorities made almost 500 human trafficking arrests in California during the week of Super Bowl. So before I go into all of these arrests and who got arrested and why they got arrested and who got freed and who was rescued and who was put in jail and like that, I do want to one more time address the issue of Super Bowl. Anytime there is a major event, whether it's Super Bowl, whether it's Coachella, whether it's the engineering conference in Palm Springs, whether it's anything at all, NASCAR events, anytime you have large-scale events, you have people who are getting away from home and want to party. And they take chances in ways that maybe they wouldn't if they were right at home with their normal neighborhood and their family watching on. So just the very nature of an event like Super Bowl will mean that there are more people willing to buy sex, regardless of whether or not the person providing it is being violated or not. And there are more people willing to sell sex because there's a bigger market and people are out partying and they're willing to pay a little bit more for it. So yes, there will always be a bump in activity. Now, they focus on Super Bowl for a couple of reasons. One is January is National Human Trafficking Month. So I'm going to tell you, tongue in cheek, just take it for what it's worth, during January, there is a lot more law enforcement focus on sex selling and sex buying than most other months. However, with the Super Bowl being early in February, many of these cases, many of these stings, these undercover operations were delayed and were put together in conjunction with the same timing of human trafficking at the Super Bowl. Now, some of you who have heard me before have known that I personally worked with law enforcement at a Super Bowl up north, and I ran some research studies and some tests, and my opinion at that point was that maybe the activity got a 10 to 15% bump in the number of sex for sale and sex buyers. And I often think that probably it's not as big as they say it's going to be because they're saying it's going to be big. And that begins to deter sex buyers. So regardless of whether it's huge or not huge, they are able to accomplish their mission by warning you that if you try to buy sex at a Super Bowl, your odds of getting caught are going to be much greater. And that is a fair warning, folks, because they have the law enforcement out there that they don't normally have to be able to bust you, because the feds come to town and they support these big operations and expand their capability to be able to go in and rescue people, identify them, and also to do what they call the demand side of things. Many people in trafficking will tell you without sex buying, there isn't any sex selling going on. So if you'll, focus on the buyer, then you're going to have a lot less demand for that marketplace. And that makes sense. Now, whether or not you think people should be arrested for buying sex is your opinion. But right now, in the state of California, it is against the law to buy sex. And it is against the law to sell sex in a way that you're loitering for prostitution. Now, many of you have heard me talk about SB 357. That's still hanging out there. If that bill goes through, which is looking more and more likely, then legalizing street prostitution will take place in California, and this is going to rewrite how business is done. Right now, what happened, SB 357 has passed the Senate, and it has passed the Assembly, and it went to Governor Newsom, and there are rumblings undercover, nothing official, that Newsom has bumped it back down to the legislators saying, I need this amendment and that amendment before I'll sign it. How that takes place, I don't know. I, for one, am against that bill, and I will tell you why. It is not like Nevada, where you go into a brothel and you have protection for the sex worker. It isn't like that. It basically says that you can loiter for the purpose of prostitution if that bill passes, and law enforcement won't be able to intervene. That means that street and car prostitution will take place in your neighborhood, in front of your business, in front of your church, in front of your school, in front of your kids, and in front of your house. And I oppose that idea. My name is Opal Singleton. This is MillionKids.org. We're coming up against a break, so we're going to ask you to stay with us, and we'll look at some of these stings. Be right back.
Listen up, folks. You no longer have to drive out of the IE for a great restaurant experience. The Toasted Barrel, an upscale casual steakhouse located in Corona, has been winning award after award for their great diverse menu, service, ambience, wine, and cocktails. Customers call the Barrel the perfect date night. Inland Empire magazine has awarded them Best Restaurant 4 years in a row. Wine Spectator recognized the Toasted Barrel's wine program for their award of excellence. Toasted Barrel is famous for their certified Angus beef, prime, Wagyu, and Kobe steaks, and they have some of the best pasta and seafood around. With happy hour and daily specials every day of the week, their appetizers and drink selections are the best around. Live music starts every Friday and Saturday at 5:30. Planning a dinner party, wedding rehearsal, family gathering, or holiday party? Look up Toasted Barrel online and make your reservation today.
Hello, this is Opal Singleton of Exploited, Crimes and Technology. I want to tell you about a book I wrote called Seduced, The Grooming of America's Teenagers. It's all about how predators access, groom, recruit, and exploit our young people using social media, online gaming, video chat rooms. Technology is changing at the speed of light, and we have to understand how to keep our kids safe from predators. So you can get this book by going to www.millionkids.org. It's $16. I'll sign it, and I'll ship it to you personally. We hope that you will order this book, educate yourself about how to keep our kids safe in this day of changing technology. Join us each Saturday for our radio show at Exploited, Crimes and Technology at 3 o'clock on AM 590, The Answer.
Real estate sales in the Inland Empire are really hot. Sellers and buyers recognize that these low interest rates will not last. Sean and Colleen at Caldwell Banker Armstrong Properties in Riverside are proud to sponsor this show. They are the best in the Inland Empire. They're fair, honest, creative, and they care about you and your situation. If you're in the market to buy or sell a home, call Sean and Colleen at 951-529-4066.
AM 590, The Answer.
Hello and welcome back to Exploited Crimes and Technology. This is Opal Singleton, and we are talking about sex for sale and those people who got arrested buying it over the last 2 to 3 weeks right here in our neighborhoods. So what happens in these cases is they put together large-scale undercover stings. And this is true regardless of what county you're in, where you're at. And these are put together by the feds, including the FBI and Homeland Security, in conjunction with all your local sheriff departments and also many of your police departments, and even the CHP will often get involved. Now, most of the ones I'm going to talk about today were targeting people who were looking to buy adult sex. And I'm going to talk about how that works in a second, but let me just share with you a case, and I shared this with you about September, probably October of last year. This one was Riverside County, and it was the Riverside County Human Trafficking Task Force, and also what they call the RCAHT team. Now, that's a team out of the district attorney's office in Riverside, ran by District Attorney Mike Hestron, and in his case, or in that case, they were targeting people who thought they were going to have sex with minors. Now, I don't think there's anybody in the range of this airway that would argue that that needs to be focused on. We can argue over whether or not adult sex selling and sex buying should be looked at, but I don't think any of us have an issue with law enforcement intervening if they think that this guy is going to show up with sex toys to have sex with the 14-year-old. And that's what happened in Operation Intercept. They actually, in a short period of time, they were doing this online. And I share that with you because that is how most of this happens. They hook up with adult women or minor kids, and they hook up online. In this case, it was a huge operation by the Sheriff Department and the District Attorney office in there, Riverside PD, Beaumont PD, Murrieta PD, California Department of Corrections. That's because they're looking at sex offenders who are out on parole. The Feds, UF Federal Bureau, FBI, Department of Homeland Security, and U.S. Marshals. And I just want to take a shout out for all those people. You know, when you start going out after minor sex offenders, that's a nasty piece of business going after those guys. And they did it. They did what they needed to do to take this on. And I'm very, very proud of them. But I just want to give you an idea. These are 25 people that met somebody online that thought they were going to talk to a 14-year-old, and they showed up with the idea of having sex with them. So these people were arrested for soliciting of a minor with the intent to engage in lewd sex acts. Now, some of them were from out of the area where they're coming into our area. One of them, Stuart Campbell, was arrested for possession of child pornography, arrested for soliciting a minor, and for distributing child pornography. He was from Pomona. So he is what is known as pedophilia. 3 of these people, I wanted to point out, showed up with loaded handguns. Now, aren't you glad that your law enforcement officers are willing to do this decoy work and meet up with these guys? Because if this was your 14-year-old daughter that met somebody online and they don't bother telling you, they think they'll just sneak out and see they're going to meet their new good-looking hunk because that's what they look like when they're online. Just wait till they meet them. And think about when your 14-year-old daughter meets this guy at a mall and he's carrying a loaded weapon. One of them was James Renfro. He had already sold a vape pen to a 13-year-old in exchange for nude photos. Thank God the 13-year-old talked to her parents, and her parents knew what to do about it because they didn't go on and warn the guy where he can leave town and run. They went directly to the police and let the police pretend to be her. When he showed up in his, I believe it was a Lexus, or was it I can't remember now, what was that thing that he had? It was a fancy car or his Tesla. I was checking that out. Bear with me. He showed up. He's got a lot of pot, and he's got narcotics for sale. He's got a Tesla, and he's got a loaded handgun, and he's meeting up with this 14-year-old child. Well, then this article goes on to name all the people that showed up that were like that. Well, Operation Reclaim and Rebuild is not focused on minors. It is focused on sex sellers and sex buyers. So let me just explain to you the lay of the land, and then we'll spend the next 2 sessions talking about what kind of results. Over 500 people were arrested, to give you a hint. So you say to yourself, if you're an adult, shouldn't you be allowed to sell your body? I get that argument. You'll often hear me talk about that. It's my body. I'll do what I want, blah, blah, blah. And if I want to sell it, I can sell it. If it were that simple, I wouldn't even be on the air with this conversation. If people who willingly want to go out and sell their bodies and people willingly want to buy those bodies and not abuse them, then that's between 2 people. But we have laws that protect people who are victims of human trafficking. In the state of California, if you're under 18 years of age and you're engaged in commercial sex, you're automatically a victim of trafficking. I don't care if you're 16 and you're cute and you want to do it and make some extra money, it doesn't matter. If you're a minor, our state law says you're a victim, and we have all kinds of services. But if you're 18 and you're out there, it depends on whether there are 4 critical elements that will define whether or not it is moved from independent commercial sex provision to human trafficking victim. And that is if there is force, fraud, fear, or coercion involved in it. So I've been in this business of helping people get out of the life of this for a long time. And I'm going to tell you the most common scenario is a young girl that gets involved in this. She's usually 16, 17. By the time she's turned 18, she is no longer protected by the law. And she may think she's hot. She may do some webcam sex. She may do some sex for money. And she is an independent provider. But one day, some guy comes along, or a girl, 60% of girls recruited into prostitution are recruited by another girl. And that is because she usually is connected to a gang. About 80 to 90% of sex trafficking taking place in the Inland Empire is gang-related. So they put their good-looking gang guys on these hot dating sites. The girls hook up with them. They get a fantasy relationship. If you want to read a book I wrote about that, it's called Seduced, The Grooming of America's Teenagers. You can get it at millionkids.org. I'll sign it for you. But they get this fantasy going. And many times the girls chase that guy down, or the guy will meet up with them. A lot of times they never intend to meet up with them. They just want to flirt. But then one thing leads to the other, and they start demanding loyalty, and you're not telling anybody. And I share with kids, if you're in a relationship where they tell you don't tell, heck, I'd tell everybody I know, because as long as you don't tell, they're the only ones that are free to go. You're the one that's restricted. If you can't be proud of who you are and what you're doing, you shouldn't be doing it. It's that simple. And they'll start to tell this kid, hey, I see your picture online. You know, you're really hot. You're not charging enough. Hey, you can work half as hard and make twice the money, and I'll help you, and we'll be in business together. Or next thing you know, they want to just meet up. And that girl will go out and meet up with him with the idea of not running away. This, by the way, is why we run Million Kids Missing Kids. I can't tell you the number of kids who, straight A students, never intended to run away. Just simply went out and got in that car, and the next thing you know, somebody pulls a gun on them, and off they go. And the relationship changes very quickly. The first thing they will do to make a victim compliant is break them. And that gets absolutely ugly and tough. It may be a group sex. It may be a gang thing. It may be something between the two of them where he starts to say, I need more money. I need you to help me pay the rent. The girl thinks she's in business together. It becomes like a domestic violence. He's starting to threaten her or beat her. She tries harder to please him, and she blames herself. And that is that grooming process. And the next thing you know, she has a quota of 8 dates a night, or she doesn't get to eat, or she doesn't get to go home. And it gets that way. And suddenly you now have someone who went from voluntary entrepreneur to someone who is literally sexually enslaved. And that's when it becomes trafficking. Stay with me, folks. We'll be right back.
Societal Shift, A World Without Borders and a Home Without Walls. This is the most important book you will read this year, especially if you have children or grandchildren. We are living at the most important time in all of history. In 2020, the entire world will be connected by internet, more than 6 billion people coming together. Technology will provide many great advantages for our kids, but a world without borders for our kids is also a world without borders for pimps, predators, pedophiles, cartels, and organized crime. It is a home without walls because 87% of the kids sleep with their phone. It is the greatest societal experiment of all time. Our kids are technology geniuses, and their parents are technophobic. Some are techno-impotent. New apps come with no warnings on how a predator will use them against our kids. Advancing technologies like encrypted messaging, vaporware, artificial intelligence, cryptocurrency, and the dark net will challenge law enforcement, teachers, and parents to keep kids safe. Recent research states that 9,000 kids a day are being blackmailed with a naked photo, and 58% will meet their predator. It is indeed a societal shift, and one in which most parents are unprepared. If you are a parent or grandparent, teacher, counselor, or social worker, please take time to read Societal Shift, Only $18.99 plus $6 shipping. Order today at millionkids.org. That's millionkids, millionkids.org. It'll be the greatest gift you can give your family and yourself. Order Societal Shift today. Million Kids takes checks and credit cards. Opal Singleton, the author, will personally sign the book and send it to you. Again, go to millionkids.org and order Societal Shift today. Join Million Kids. Keep our kids safe from predators.
Hello and welcome back to Exploited Crimes and Technology. This is Opal Singleton, and I hope that you will go to millionkids.org and sign up for our newsletter. Our movie, Sextortion, The Hidden Pandemic, is going to debut at the Santa Barbara Film Festival. It's already had the trailer released by Homeland Security. If you want to see the trailer, go to millionkids.org, and I'm sure that trailer's right on there. Our folks that operate that part of our business are really, really good, and you can see that trailer, and I hope you will. So I want to get on with these articles because I want you to understand what's taking place. So what has happened is you've gone from people who are voluntarily offering their bodies out for sale, whether they're female or male or trans or, LGBTQ, whatever it is that they are, they're adults. And it is against the law. So when they run these stings, what they historically do, they being law enforcement of all types, will set up and go through ads online. They will reply to ads that are already there, and they create some of their own ads. And they put decoys out there to meet up with them. What they're looking for is, first of all, to find those minors that got caught up in it and to be able to rescue them and get them out of harm's way. They also want to then go in and arrest the sex buyer. And the reason for that, it's a misdemeanor. It's a $1,000 fine. They are taken to jail. But they want the sex buyer to understand, one, you are breaking the law, and two, many of the people that you are about to go out there with are not there voluntarily. And you need to understand, you might be their 8th customer, their 15th customer, but these women especially, and also the young boys that are out there, because young boys, this happens to them a lot in these situations, they may not be there voluntarily. And they may have a quota, and they may have a tattoo with some guy's name on it to let you know that she is being controlled by that pimp. The most common tattoo for a pimp is a rose made out of a dollar bill. That's the most common one. Sometimes it's a crown. Sometimes it's a diamond with lights on it, or cash rules everything around me, So it's that stands for cream, by the way, if you see that. So that's why they run these stings, is to be able to reach the girl that is out there separate from the pimp and be able to offer them services and to share with the buyer that this is not a harmless crime. But the most important aspects of these stings are, one, is to find those pimps, both male and female. That's why you will see females get arrested, because some of the females are pimps. And by the way, some of them are tougher than the rest of them. And so they're looking to find the pimps, and they're also out there looking for minors that are being put into it. So how big were these busts, really? Well, here's the headline. Authorities made 500 trafficking arrests. Now, I want you to know that's statewide. Throughout California, they run these all across the state of California, and this year they delayed them a bit to put them with the Super Bowl. So this is Operation Reclaim and Rebuild that this ran on. In all, officials arrested 34 people suspected of being traffickers or exploiting sex workers, meaning pimps. 201 people were allegedly caught trying to buy sex, and hundreds more on similar charges. This is a quote by the LA Sheriff Villanueva. If you're Spanish speaking, you can laugh at me. I'm a gringo. It's all right. Anyway, the sheriff says, I want to send a message to pimps, exploiters, and buyers. It's unacceptable to buy another human being for sexual purposes. Now, in the case of LA, they ran it up right before the big game in LA. They contacted 74 women and 8 girls who were being victimized in illicit sex trade operations. So, in essence, 82 victims they were able to find out of the 500 people that were there. Most of them were rescued, given shelter, and directed to resources to help them recover from any abuses they suffered. You have no idea what that line is implying, and this is a family show, so I'm going to try to keep it as clean and crystal as I can. But people who buy what they want to buy want what they want, and this is not Julia Roberts and Pretty Woman, okay? This gets awful. I've been in this business of helping these people for a long time, and what they're required to do by their pimp and their sex buyer is really, really horrendous business. And, you know, they're really at the mercy of their pimp. They will get beaten if they don't perform. However, some of the things they are required to perform, you wouldn't wish on anyone that you know. And many times, sex buyers will end up not paying, which means the young lady is violated and doesn't collect and will be re-violated by her pimp as he accuses her of keeping the money. So this gets to be really rough operation that you're talking about. So what will happen is when they go in and they determine that the girl is a victim of trafficking and not a pimp, then she is given services. And we have some tremendous organizations in Southern California. Open Door is one of them out of San Bernardino, Casa Reach out of Hemet, Rebirth Homes, Operation Safe House, Run to Rescue. There's a bunch of them on there. So they rescued 74 adult women and 8 girls who were then given opportunity to get shelter, to get legal assistance, to get anything negative off their record on there, to get medical assistance, to get psychological help on there. So one of the groups was Saving Innocence out of LA. She says, I can tell you from an agency that's on the ground embedded with advocates and survivors, we have seen repeatedly over and over an uptick in trafficking and the number of services that we deliver that are required. So she is saying that this is really, really serious business. Now, that is statewide that's being quoted. Here's the LA County case. Headline on this, Los Angeles Regional Human Trafficking Task Force announces arrests. So these are the arrests only for LA, and this is only for about a 6-day period in this. This is what they call Operation Reclaim and Rebuild. In that, they rescued 7 minors over in LA by the Super Bowl, and they arrested 182 males for solicitation. I can't believe that 182 men did not listen to the media, because everybody made it clear if you try to buy sex at the Super Bowl, you're going to get caught. So how smart can you be to do that? If you're going to do it, go to some other state or wait till this is over. So in all, they arrested 30 traffickers, and in total, they made 413 arrests out of Los Angeles. Now I want to talk about Orange County. Was their deal. In Orange County, they had 11 law enforcement agencies that operated together. This is not a small undertaking to make these happen. I want you to see just how serious law enforcement is on this crime, and especially in the Inland Empire area. We are very, very lucky to have excellent law enforcement, and that is true in Orange County too. They put together 11 agencies. Takes a lot of time, a lot of coordination, a lot of money, a lot of undercover time, getting this together, placing the ads, catching the people, rescuing the survivors that are in it, and getting them into services. They had 56 arrests in Orange County during this time. And this was right up to the Super Bowl, and they rescued 16 victims. So they're not kidding about the Super Bowl. Even with all the hype, even with all the announcement that don't buy sex during this time in these areas, they still had almost right at 500 people that were out there that ended up being brought in, whether they were rescued or whether they were arrested. These people keep their word on this kind of thing, because what you will find is many of these women, especially, are horribly violated. This is not Pretty Woman. If it was Pretty Woman, paying $5,000 or $3,000 and making love, I wouldn't be behind this mic fighting this. Because if people want to have their own encounter, that's their business. But when a woman starts getting raped or beat up or abused or sold over and over and over and not fed because she didn't make enough money, suddenly you've gone from something consensual to something exploitative. And this must stop, and we're committed to stopping it. This is Opal Singleton. We will be right back.
Custom Service Systems, a proud supporter of Million Kids, is a family-owned and operated commercial cleaning company servicing the Inland Empire and surrounding areas since 1974. CSS takes pride in their ability to maintain the business facilities they serve and their long-lasting relationships with their valued clients. CSS provides a variety of cleaning systems customized to client needs, including deep cleaning and disinfectant to be COVID-19 compliant. From basic office cleaning to windows and floors, CSS will clean up your mess so you don't have to stress. Custom Service Systems cares about families and communities and wants to give back. Custom Service Systems are proud supporters of Million Kids to keep kids safe from predators. If you need the best cleaning services for your business or corporation, contact Custom Service Systems at cssclean.com. Again, cssclean.com, or call 951-781-9345. That's 951-781-9345. You will know you found the best. Custom Service Systems.
Hello, this is Opal Singleton of Exploited Crimes and Technology. Let me tell you about my friend Doris Anderson at Remax Realty in Upland. She is amazing. She's kind, she's patient, but she listens. And she's informed, and she will help you with your real estate transaction in a way that works for you. Doris, in full disclosure, often supports the work of Million Kids because she cares about young people. But she knows how to analyze a market, how to market a property, and how to find just the right transaction for both buyers and sellers. If you're looking to buy or sell real estate or invest in income property, contact Doris Anderson at Remax Realty, 951-733-8899. That's 951-733-8899. 951-733-8899.
This message is all about Million Kids, the organization that helps locate missing kids throughout Southern California and educates to keep kids safe from predators. Million Kids educates school administrators, teachers, parents, and teenagers how predators identify a potential victim and the methods they use to recruit innocent kids. BMW of Riverside is a proud supporter of Million Kids. Visit BMW of Riverside at the Adams Street exit off the 91 freeway or click bmwofriverside.com.
AM 590, The Answer.
Hello and welcome back to Exploited Crimes and Technology. I'm really on a roll today, folks. We are talking about all the arrests and all the assistance provided. The arrests of pimps, the arrest of sex buyers, the arrest of traffickers, and the rescue of people who have been forced into sex, and also minors that were trapped in the life of sex trafficking. So what about the Inland Empire? Okay, what happened during that same time here? Well, this headline is about San Bernardino County. They do a great job over there, by the way, some wonderful folks, and they have an incredible victim service provider called Open Door. Also a group over there called CASE, Coalition Against Sexual Exploitation, it is. Okay, so in this case, they rescued 12 victims and made 36 arrests. It says, over a 5-day period in San Bernardino County, their Human Trafficking Task Force, the operations were conducted mostly in Rancho Cucamonga, San Bernardino, and also in Victorville. So what happened is that investigators put out ads online or they answered ads online. And it's all about street-level enforcement and online advertising for enforcement, and also offender enforcement. You see, one of the first things that registered sex offenders will often do is reply to those sex ads online in hopes of picking up a 14-year-old girl, just like we talked about happened over here in Riverside. So in this case, 36 suspects were arrested for violations associated with prostitution and other crimes. 12 of the people were victims of human trafficking. Four of the pimps were identified. It's very, very important to get these pimps off the street because each pimp may have anywhere from 5 to 20 girls. This is about making money, using other people to make money, oftentimes going off to some organized criminal organization. And so it is very important that taking pimps off the street can be very dangerous work. They're very tough people. I want to point out something here for your San Bernardino Human Trafficking Task Force. This included your probation department. That's because some of these people are already out on probation. California Highway Patrol, California State Patrol, and Department of Homeland Security. The victim services were provided to you by Open Door primarily. And they are a great victim service organizer and provider. Now, I want to get back to Riverside because that's where I report. This is a press release from Sheriff Chad Bianco's office called Operation Reclaim and Rebuild. So in this case, it included the RCAHT team, that is our Human Trafficking Task Force. Many of you know that I'm just proud as punch to work with these people. These are men and women who, and yes, there are women, and they are great women that do this kind of work. People who literally will go out in the middle of the night to try to find your child who's decided to run off with somebody and the thing has gone wrong on them. And your child is out there being exploited and you have no way to know where they are or how to get them back. And it can be highly dangerous. So this is 13 men and women. Hats off to Chad Bianco. When everybody else was defunding police across the United States, our Sheriff Chad Bianco, and he doesn't know I say this, I doubt that he even listens to this show, but I will tell you he is a hero in my mind because he did what it took to double down and double the size of our task force. We need it in Riverside County. We're 7,200 miles wide. By the way, the the Board of Supervisors also funded nearly $1 million for DA Hestron, Mike Hestron's office, to be able to go after child sex offenders, because most of this is taking place online. And they get our kids' naked photos and they start to blackmail our kids, or else they will lure them into sending a photo without realizing that those photos are going out into big underground pedophilia rings. And most of this is taking place online. This thing of defunding police just frosts my cookies. I'll say that, because if there's ever a time in our history, in our society, where we ought to be putting millions of dollars against sex crimes of children, it is right now. It takes place online, in encryption, in bulletproof hosting, in the dark web, and it is taking place, and the money often goes back to large-scale cartels. And our kids get blackmailed, and our kids get forced into prostitution, and they keep the money. And as they get bigger and we get smaller, we need to open our eyes. We need investment in technology. And thank you to the Riverside County Board of Supervisors for doing that for us. And thank you to our leadership that they're willing to fight this fight. Well, this is a whole group of people: La Quinta, Special Enforcement, Palm Desert, Lake Elsinore, Temecula, Riverside County Gang Task Force, Riverside PD, Homeland Security, affected 38 arrests during a 1-week proactive enforcement operation throughout the county of Riverside. This is called Operation Reclaim and Rebuild. Last year, when they did this, by the way, it resulted in 450 arrests, 39 victims rescued, and 13 of them were kids that were under the age of 18. So as they did this, again, they placed decoy ads on popular classified advertising websites. Fine with me if you're not going to be too smart and continue to respond to these ads, because we told you on the radio, you buy sex, especially around the time of the Super Bowl, regardless of what county you're in, you are going to pay a price. One of these folks that was arrested was 25 years old from Murrieta. He's arrested for prostitution and carrying a loaded firearm. So what do you think? Is this going to be a pretty woman encounter? These people are dead serious. Another one, solicitation of prostitution, possession of a controlled substance, and paraphernalia. And then if you want to go to the Riverside County Sheriff site, you will get to see all the names of all the people that went out and were arrested during this time. So is it bigger during the Super Bowl? I can't imagine. I don't get it. I mean, all of this hype that says you buy sex prior to the Super Bowl or during the Super Bowl, you're going to get caught, and yet they still show up in huge numbers. And the pimps still show up, and we show up. And so we are going to continue to take this on. Is there a lot of hype around it? Yeah, I think so. And I'm in the business. But we keep thinking that hype will alert people not to do it. So far, several people haven't gotten the message, and they will pay that price. But we need to understand that sex trafficking and forced prostitution are not victimless crimes. And that's true whether you go into one of those private little massage parlors, and that's not anything bad about massage parlors. I love a good massage parlor. But there are illegitimate ones. If you see it, report it. If you know anybody that is a victim of trafficking or sextortion or social media exploitation or child pornography, you can report it anonymously if you want to at 1-888-3737-888. That number is also at millionkids.org. One more time, 1-888-3737-888. Well, I want to thank each and every one of you that support our work and follow us. And I meet you out there, you introduce yourself, and I'm always in awe that all of you listen. And I so much appreciate it. Our film is just over the moon. It's been accepted over at the Santa Barbara Film Festival. We're going to start over there on March 2nd, going through March 12th. It's going to show, if you want to go to the Santa Barbara Film Festival and support our film, Thursday night at 9 o'clock is one of them, and the other one is at Sunday at 4 p.m. Can you believe we got the Sunday at 4 p.m. slot? They have 85 films in the running. We are competing in the social justice category, the world premiere category. God has been exceptionally good. I want to thank each and every one of you that has sent in money to help us build all the curriculum for schools, because Homeland Security is helping us get it into schools. We're about halfway there on our goal. We still need about another 35,000, quite frankly. If you are interested in supporting that work to help us get that film ready to show across America, please go to millionkids.org and hit that donate button, or use the P.O. box and send that check. My name is Opal Singleton. The organization is Million Kids, millionkids.org. Folks, have a great week. Stop and look at your spouse and let them know how much you love them. Put your arms around your kids and tell them you're proud of them. I'll see you next Saturday at 3 o'clock on AM 590.
Societal Shift, A World Without Borders and a Home Without Walls. This is the most important book you will read this year, especially if you have children or grandchildren. We are living at the most important time in all of history. In 2020, the entire world will be connected by internet, more than 6 billion people coming together. Technology will provide many great advantages for our kids, but a world without borders for our kids is also a world without borders for pimps, predators, pedophiles, cartels, and organized crime. It is a home without walls because 87% of the kids sleep with their phone. It is the greatest societal experiment of all time. Our kids are technology geniuses, and their parents are technophobic. Some are techno-impotent. New apps come with no warnings on how a predator will use them against our kids. Advancing technologies like encrypted messaging, vaporware, artificial intelligence, cryptocurrency, and the dark net will challenge law enforcement, teachers, and parents to keep kids safe. Recent research states that 9,000 kids a day are being blackmailed with a naked photo, and 58% will meet their predator. It is indeed a societal shift, and one in which most parents are unprepared. If you are a parent or grandparent, teacher, counselor, or social worker, please take time to read Societal Shift. Only $18.99 plus $6 shipping. Order today at millionkids.org. That's millionkids, millionkids.org. It'll be the greatest gift you can give your family and yourself. Order Societal Shift today. Million Kids takes checks and credit cards. Opal Singleton, the author, will personally sign the book and send it to you. Again, go to millionkids.org and order Societal Shift today. Join Million Kids. Keep our kids safe from predators.